Our next inductee into the St. Louis Amateur Hockey Hall of Fame is Mark Kohrs. Now, a lot of you might be wondering why we didn't do Mark and Sel together, and the reason is I was supposed to. Okay, so that'll blow a lot of theories that were just running around out there, won't it? Almost all the stories here for the first 3 years of this St. Louis Amateur Hockey Hall of Fame in some way, shape, or form seem to involve the Winterland Ice Rink, and this one is no different. Apparently at the Winterland Ice Rink there were 2 locker rooms. There were only 2 of them. So when the incoming teams that were getting ready for the games there was stuff already in there because those are the same locker rooms being used by the teams that were already out on the ice. Okay, so Mark apparently got kicked out of his game, and which is actually really funny because the story that was being told that I overheard earlier up here was just talking about how he was just kind of one of these just kind of hard-nosed, kind of tempered kind of hockey guys. Well, Mark got kicked out of the game, and he burst into the locker room, and just in anger, he went ahead and he just chucked his stick as he entered the room. Well, it hit one of his best friends, Steve Rupp, right in the head. The same Steve that did the invocation up here, which might have been why he can pray so well, because he must have needed it that night. He was knocked out cold. All right, he was unconscious. He was cut on his forehead. Apparently, he laid there basically with a pool of blood that was growing and growing and growing. So a bunch of the other players ran out. They got some help. Well, after just a little bit of time passed, word spread around the rink, about what had happened. All right, so as Mark was waiting outside the locker room, word got around in such a quick hurry, and we know how things go real quick. So you hear somebody say, "Hey, did you hear Kohrs killed Rupp?" So apparently that was enough for Mark, who responded, "He's not dead, you beep." We throw that A word out there again, but that's not it. So he was no doubt intense, and I encourage you, especially with his bio in the program, to read it. He is our next inductee into the St. Louis Amateur Hockey Hall of Fame. Here to accept it on his behalf for Mark Kohrs is his nephew, Jonathan Kleppel.
Well, it's an honor to be here on behalf of my uncle. Obviously, many people around here have either played with him, watched him play, but it always kind of been associated with hockey. It was a huge influence on Mark's life. Either playing for my grandfather, obviously, there was a great relationship between the 2 of them. He pushed my uncle very hard in order to get the best out of him. And every once in a while, they'd kind of tangle in between games and that. But after the game was over, obviously, he knew that he was pushing him that direction. There's a lot of my uncle's friends that are out there, anywhere from the Rupps, the Streams are out there. Obviously, David Bates is out there, too. They were lifelong friends of my uncle. And when we first were let know that my uncle was going to be inducted with the class of 2010, there were a lot of stories as we met up and everybody let our family know that he was going to be inducted. Most of those stories, unfortunately, weren't PG, so I can't really tell those. However, I can tell you one thing. Amongst all of them, they all came up to me and they said how funny or how great it was. They'd go over to the Kohrs house and they'd all go up to Mark's room, and how funny it was that, there were trophies all over the place. And every one of those trophies, it was team, but there were those MVP trophies. He never really made it known that he had those MVP trophies there. He always put the team first, and that was the way my uncle was. So it's a huge honor to be here today, speaking on his behalf. In regards to what my uncle did for me and my brothers and sisters that are here today too, is when he was working for Gateway, every 2 to 3 times a week, would show up at our house with his cooler in hand, ready to take us out to the field, whether it was, hitting baseballs, whether it was going and hitting hockey pucks somewhere, whatever it was sports involved. And it's funny, as we get older, we all start to get a little bigger. Uncle had the same thing. But that hand-eye coordination that made him so great at hockey was still there. It didn't matter how many times my brother Cole and I tried to do something, whether it be throw a ball at him at a different direction or something like that. He'd always manage to catch it. So you could definitely see the skills that were there. And it was a great time that he would always make time for my siblings and I. And just to close, I can say that my uncle, the biggest honor would obviously be up speaking to all of you, but bigger than that, the fact that he was inducted with my grandfather would be a huge honor to him. So I want to thank the committee for inducting both Mark and Sal during the same induction class, because that would have meant the world to both of them. Thank you.
Thank you.